By the end of my speech, you will understand the ways in which Sylvia Plath's life influenced her poetry. Sylvia Plath is best known for her book, The Bell Jar. But the enormity of success heeded by the book overshadows her poignant and powerful poetry. There are certain recurring themes that show up in her poetry, namely the death of her father at an early age, her desire for emptiness, and her desire to commit suicide. Knowing Sylvia Plath's history makes it easy to discern meaning in her poetry and draw connections from the life she lived to the content of her words. First, I'd like to talk to you about how the death of her father influenced her poetry. Her father died when she was only 8 years old, and she had seemed to have contempt for him. She even compares him to a Nazi in her poem Daddy. Also in Daddy, she says, "There is a stake in your fat black heart, and the villagers never liked you. They are dancing and stamping on you. They always knew it was you. Daddy, Daddy, you bastard, I'm through." Also in Daddy, she makes a reference to being pulled out of a sack and put back together with glue after her father died. This, with little analytical insight, is telling us that she was glued back together, and she was put back together, but not put back together in to be the same person she was before her father died. Now that I've told you about the way the death of her father influenced her poetry, I'd like to tell you about how her desire for emptiness affected her poetry. In her poem Lady Lazarus, she says of herself, "Flesh, bone, there is nothing there. A cake of soap, a wedding ring, a gold filling." In this, she's saying that she's an empty husk, a vessel for life, but without any meaningful life. She talks about how things in the hospital the bland things are soothing and comforting. But then in her hospital room, somebody brings some tulips, and that upsets her. The vivid tulips soak up all the oxygen in the room, and the color is too bright, too vivid for her. And she says of the tulips, which represent life, "Before they came, the air was calm enough, coming and going without any fuss. Then the tulips filled it up like a loud noise. Now the air snags and eddies round them the way a river snags and eddies round the sunken red rust engine. They concentrate my attention. That was happy playing and resting without committing itself." This is just saying that she likes to be empty. Now that I've told you about the way that her desire to be empty has affected her poetry, I'd like to tell you about how her desire to commit suicide affected her poetry. She tried committing suicide twice before she succeeded. First, when she was really young, she cut her own throat. Second time, she swallowed almost an entire bottle of sleeping pills. In her poem Lady Lazarus, she says, "The second time I meant to last it out and not come back at all. I rocked shut as a seashell. They had to call and pick the worms off me like sticky pearls. Dying is an art. Like everything else, I do exceptionally well." This underwater talk reminds us of the way a lot of people describe their depression, as being underwater with nowhere to go and no oxygen to breathe. Sylvia Plath wrote exemplary poetry. The feelings conveyed by her words were born from a life of tragedy and loss. One can notice connections between her poetry and her life's path. It's a shame that much of her poetry is lost in the cornucopia of her success and tragedy. Thank you.